The Sixers defeat the Miami Heat 98-91.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's good, folks? Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs help you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Look, y'all, the Sixers defeated the Miami Heat 98-91. I'm Keith Pompey. I'm one of the co-hosts of Locked On 76ers. My man John Mitchell will be back with us tomorrow. You miss Mitch. You definitely miss. But here's the deal. I don't know what to make of this victory. I don't. And the reason why I don't know what to make of this victory, this is the Sixers won consecutive games for the third time since Joel Embiid has been injured. Their record now is 12-22 without Joel. But the reason why I can't call it is because Joel didn't play, of course. Tobias Harris didn't play. We know Robert Covington didn't play. D'Anthony Melton, these guys been out for a while. But Jimmy Butler didn't play for Miami. Tyler Hero didn't play. Duncan Robinson, the team's best three-point shooter, went out in the third quarter, didn't return. They had a couple other Bam Adebayo and a bunch of role players. And I know that's kind of hard. Some people are like, well, why do you say that? But I really don't know what to make of this, y'all. I don't. But the one thing that did stand out to me was, Kyle Lowry's demeanor. Maxey, he had 30 points. Tyrese was a plus 22, a game best plus 22. He had 30 points from 11 to 24 shooting. He was 3 for 10 on threes. He made all 5 of his foul shots. He had 10 assists. He had 8 rebounds. He had 1 block, 1 steal. He turned the ball over 3 times, though, right? He played well. Kelly looked good in spurts like he does at times, Kyle, he had 16 points. Those 16 points were the most points that he's had since he's been a 76er, right? He had 16 points. He only had 1 assist. He had 2 steals. He had a block. He had 4 rebounds, right? He shot 6 for 12 and 3 for 5 on threes. Now, the thing is, when we talk about it, this game, there was a time where the 76ers in the third quarter, they had a 17-point lead. And next thing you know, they lost it. And you look at it and you're saying to yourself, like, here we go again. Here comes the turnovers, the bad plays, the this and that. But after the game, you hear that Kyle kept telling everybody they're coming back. They're going to come back. Be prepared. Be prepared. They're going to come back. So I asked him, as one of those things, are you more disappointed that you guys lost that lead? Or are you happy with how your team responded after losing that lead? Because, They lost that lead, and then Kyle comes back, and they get to regain it, and Kyle comes back, and he hits a huge three, and then next thing you know, Kelly Oubre comes back, and he scores a basket, so it gives them a little cushion, right? And then all of a sudden, the lead is not going back away, but they got close. They got within four. Talking about the Heat again, four late, and then Kyle Lowry comes in and does a nice reverse layup. So, you look at it and you say to yourself, like, they did respond well. I mean, very well on tough situations. But again, you ask yourself, like, you, how do they keep doing this? And the thing is, it's one of those things where this team wasn't really equipped. This was the Miami Heat, a good team, a team that we look at that's going to be better in the playoffs, but this was their 32nd different starting lineup that they had this season. Sixers have had a lot too, but 32 different starting lineups. Now, the good part about this win is that Sixers moved to sixth place in the Eastern Conference standings. I mean, you look at it, Miami dropped down to eighth. The Sixers have a 38-30 record. Miami is 37-31. So look, they're only a game behind, but they're two spots down. Now, if Miami would have won, Miami would have taken a 3-0 series lead in the season series. The teams have another game left. But if they would have won that game, they would have had the tiebreaker. And what that would have done is, if both of these teams finished with identical records, Miami would essentially uh, get the higher seed because of head to head. Now, where this is important is because, let's face it, like, whoever loses the tiebreaker could be playing in a playing game, while the other team, the way it looks, with the Sixers being in sixth place, could probably get the last playoff spot, sixth seed. So, that's a lot to unravel. Is really important. But the thing that really stood out to me was Kyle. Like, we talk about it. We talk about how his demeanor, um, tough guy, um, no holds barred. And when he first came back, he was kind of nice. And in a way, his being nice is good, but Kyle is at his best when he's in your face type of guy. So we'll talk about that and more when we get right back from talking about Stitch Fix. You know, early updates, it's easily to update your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist to help you find a new on trend favorites that will work for you. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preference. I order boxes when I want to and how I want to. No subscription required. And they send just 5 just for me pieces plus outfits recommendations and pro styling advice. That works for me. It probably will work for you. My stylist always sends just right pieces and it fits it on point. It's like they have styles, ESP. I don't know how they do it, but they just get it to me the way I want it. So what you do is styles that make you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfits.com/locked on. That's stitchfits.com/locked on. Stitchfits.com/locked on. I'm telling y'all, do it today. You won't regret it. You're going to look good. You're going to love it. I'm telling you, it's the best thing to do out there. Believe me, I'm telling you. Do it today, people. Definitely do it today. Now, when we talk about Kyle Lowry, right? And I talked about how rough he is and tough and can be cranky at times. But when he plays that way and he becomes that guy, the Sixers and whichever team he's at are at their best. And early on, people thought that there was going to be some extra juice because he was playing the Heat. On January the 23rd, the Heat traded him to the Charlotte Hornets. He signed with the Sixers on February 13th, 2 days after being bought out of his contract by the Hornets, right? So there was a difference to him yesterday. So Sixers coach Nick Nurse was asked about that, right? So Nurse said, I don't know if it's for them or if he's finally starting to settle in. He was being a little ornery at shoot around today, and he hasn't been yet. So it looks like he's getting back to more of himself there, right? And the thing is, Lowry is starting to provide a stabilizing presence for the Sixers. He sees a lot on the floor, and he puts his teammates in position to succeed. But he's actually doing more than just that, right? Like I said, against the Heat, he buried two huge shots in the final 3 minutes, 9 seconds. His three-pointer at that time gave the Sixers a 93-87 lead. Then he scored on a reverse layup to put them up 95-89 with 136 to play, right? The North Philly native has also had a big third quarter steal. For the game, he finished with 16 points and two steals. That was a season high as a Sixer and marked the fourth time he reached double figures in scoring over his 9 starts, right? Lowry finally has his legs under him after missing an extended amount of time before signing with the Sixers. But by being ornery, Lowry's close to being his normal self. And this is what he said about that. Nick said to me today, he said, welcome back. It's a little bit before, and it was a little bit before in the morning, right? He says, but I think it's just one of those things. I understand what our team needs sometimes. I'm not trying to overstep boundaries. I'm trying to help my teammates. And I know one thing about Coach. He's going to always let me be me. He trusts me, and I trust him. We go back a long, long time. He knows me very well. I just want to make sure I'm giving my full self to the team and being myself and trying to create habits and things I can help with. Well, look, it's working. And they're going to need this on this upcoming road trip, I'm telling you. Because again, like I'm trying to say, y'all, I don't know how good this team is. I don't know what to make of these two victories, right? I don't. But I do know that they're going to have a tough test in the Phoenix Suns. I can tell you that. I know that's going to happen. So, it's one of those things where they're going to have to step up. They're going to have to do something. I mean, Joel Embiid, and no one knows when he's going to return, right? They all say like, oh, Joel this, Joel that, but no one knows. I mean, they have an idea, but it's one of those things where I think when they say first week or second week in April, I think that's like the the latest. I mean, the worst case scenario. Like I think he could be returned a little sooner. We'll see. But they need Kyle Lowry to be that leader. They need him to be able to run an offense. They need him to be able in the fourth quarter to step up and make shots. They do. They do. Right? But the thing about the 76ers, they are developing a little bit of identity without Joel. And the thing is, for the most part, it really doesn't look good. I mean, I hate to say it, um, because they struggled mightily well. Yes, they won 2 games back to back. Third time they did it. But for the most part, it's kind of like when they look bad at times. And even this game, like, you look at Tyrese Maxey. He had 30 points. He had 10 assists and eight rebounds, right? I mean, he was balling. But 17 of those points came in the first quarter, right? He only scored 1 point, 1 point on 0 for 3 shooting. He did have 4 assists, but he had 2 turnovers in the fourth quarter, right? In the second half, Tyrese Maxey had 12 points. So he had 11 points in the third quarter. He had 17 points in in the first quarter. And then in the second quarter, it's crazy. He only had 1 point there as well. So, you know, I want to see, as good as Tyrese is playing, I need to see a little bit more production in the fourth quarter. Seriously. Because when they go up against these really good teams, same thing with Milwaukee, it just seems as if that he gets a little shut down when they blitz him and they do stuff to take the ball out of his hands. So we need to see a little bit more of that. See him coming to play and playing better and under those scenarios and things like that. That's the next progression. That's the next step for him, to do that. And I think once he can do that, everything will work out. Everything will work out well for him and the Sixers. But right now they need to do that. Another thing is they got to get Tobias Harris going. Tobias did not play in the last 2 games. They won those two, but when he comes back, they got to get him ready to go to play. Nick Nurse said he'll be out for a couple of days. Could be out for a couple of days. So that is, I know. Who knows? Maybe he could play tomorrow against the Phoenix Suns. But he will be out there. He is going on that trip with the team. So we'll see, right? So let's talk about LinkedIn jobs. When you're hiring for small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 80% of the small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. So what you need to do is post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Do it today, people. Definitely do it today. Now, when we talk about identity, like I said, I misspoke a little bit. Thinking about it, like, yeah, let's keep it real. In order for the Sixers to go far in the playoffs, they're going to need Joel Embiid, right? This team, there's a lot of holes, a lot of stuff like that. But they do have a different identity now. Right now, you look at this team and you see a guy like KJ Martin, a guy who barely played before, coming in giving you quality minutes off the bench. Last game, he only played 6 minutes and 45 seconds, right? He had foul trouble a little bit, but what he does is he's kind of like sort of the Daniel House role, energy guy, running up and down the floor, doing certain things. Right now, the new identity is We're going to bring Buddy Hield off the bench. He's going to be a guy that's going to fire up some threes and do certain things. You got Paul Reed. He's the last two games he kind of struggled a little bit, but for the most part, he looked solid coming off the bench, better than he had in the starting lineup. But even with his offensive struggles going 1 for 5, he did have 7 rebounds, 2 huge offensive boards. He had a block, all right? Then you look at Mo Bamba right now in the starting lineup. When you say statistically, you say, man, the stats are around the same, whether he's starting or coming off the bench. But there's a different energy. There's a different fire, like a different presence, to be honest with you. It's hard to explain because when you look at it, you're saying to yourself, like, the stats are the same, Keith. They're the same, but it's weird. Like, you just see more pep in the step. Last night he had 8 points. He made 2 or 3 threes. By doing that, that opens up things more for the Sixers. Kyle Lowry in the starting lineup, we talked about that. The leader, right? Campaign coming off the bench as the backup point guard. Because it's crazy because they basically start two, and then you got Cam as the backup, right? So there is a different identity with the Sixers, and they're realizing it. But they got to they got to bring it all together. Okay, but let's face it, this team needs Joel. They know they need Joel, and we'll see how they do. I mean, when he gets back, but they need him. But right now, it's good for them to get 2 wins. I'm totally honest when I say I don't know what they mean because the Charlotte Hornets are trash. I'm just being real. The Charlotte Hornets aren't that good. And this team was what they did is I know they didn't have Joel Embiid. Tobias Harris is struggling. So, um, but Cove and Melton been out for a long, long time. But you look at this Miami team, no Jimmy Butler, no Tyler Hero. Duncan Robinson goes out. They basically beat Bam Adebayo and a bunch of role players last night. So, and they blew a 17-point lead against those role players. So, I don't know what to make of it. That's why this next game is going to be important. It's going to be huge. This road trip to show us, give an idea of who this team actually is. So, we'll see it. We'll see exactly what goes on. We'll see how they do. And basically, take it all from there, right? That's what's going to happen. But look, I want to thank y'all for listening. I want y'all to have a blessed day. I want you to know that you know, thanks for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And I also want to remind y'all that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And it's now also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts on Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on free Fire TV channel app. Do it today, people. Definitely do it today. Peace.